What is up, Asymmetry? How y'all doing? Oh, well, listen. Our routine check-ins with Brock and Brandon ended up turning into a fairly prolonged conversation this go-around. Diving into the fact that we've got a tree sale coming up, that we've got a covered wagon going across the country, and that there's just a lot of things happening at Mirai. It has been a lively summer, full of all kinds of banter, back and forth conversations, input from people that we've lost touch with, people that we maintain constant contact with. It's been really, really fun. And it was great to get to sit down and talk with Brock and Brandon, who are here on a continuum with me and able to reflect on some of the things that we get to experience that are just super special and really unique about living life as bonsai professionals at Mirai. So always good to get to share it with you guys. Listen, we've got a covered wagon coming up that's going to be taking trees across the country this fall. We're going to be having a tree sale at the end of August. If you haven't subscribed to our email, bonsaimurai.com, subscribe to our newsletter. You'll be the first to know when these things happen. And there's a lot of other things that are going to be coming up as we continue to move the company forward and continue to evolve what we're doing here in the bonsai sphere. So keep an eye out for that tree sale, the covered wagon. Let us know if you need stuff going. And otherwise, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Soapbox session with Brock and Brandon, y'all. We're almost able to see Mount Hood again.
Yeah, right? Smoke
It is
slightly clearing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost become a regular summer thing these days.
Right. Yeah. And living in Colorado, it seemed like it was a little more historically present and accepted. And then I moved up here and kind of already had it burned into my memory that it was just kind of a summer thing. And then after the first couple of years where it was like sometimes it was and sometimes it wasn't, that's when my friends were like, no, up here doesn't historically burn on this side of the Cascades at least. And it's like, oh, gotcha.
I bet it did though.
Yeah,
I bet it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, back before we were all here, right?
Well, I think the Native Americans, I mean, like John Muir said, there was always a fire going in the Sierras. They were just like these smoldering, meandering fires that kind of kept things like smoke in the Sierras back in the day in the summertime was just a known entity. It was just a commonality. Same with the coastal redwoods.
Interesting.
A lot of fire, tons of fire in the coastal redwoods constantly, small fires.
Yeah, right.
So it's like maybe, I mean, these are big fires that are making it like this, but maybe just the presence of fire as a summertime thing, like try to suppress it or not, Mother Nature's eventually just like gonna spill over the edges, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Always.
So
yeah.
Maybe this is the way in some form or another. The presence of fire in the summertime, maybe it's the way it was just supposed to be. Maybe it's a natural course. I don't know.
Right.
What they say? Like 1.8 million acres burned and counting.
In Oregon or total?
In Oregon this year, record so far for this time of the year.
There you go. Yeah. Whoa, I didn't know that number.
Yeah.
That's a big number.
Randy was talking about it the other day when he was up here, because I had heard it was at 1.2 or 1.3, and that was the record from last year or previous years. And then he was like, "Oh no," he's like, "We've already exceeded that."
Yeah,
that was a week or two already ago.
Right.
So it's amazing how many more acres can burn in just another week.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, it kind of came at the perfect time for us, at least. That little bit of smoke cut the sun's intensity down the last couple warm days. So I mean,
it's the only positive out of it.
Yeah, right.
That usually is a part of it, though.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, it is a part of it. Like a lot of really, really gnarly hot summer sessions have been tempered by the smoke cutting the intensity of the sun and the light.
Right.
And increasing the humidity pretty dramatically.
Yeah, that one always surprises me that happens. I just don't expect it, and then it's like, oh, I mean, makes sense, but yeah.
Yeah, it feels like a sauna.
Yeah,
it feels like and then when you have to close up your house because of the air quality, that also makes the house feel like last night. I was like, man, It is hot. It's hot in here.
Yeah, right.
It's
It's
got like
stuffy.
fans going and stuff, but it's like just stuffy air. It's like, ooh.
Right.
I'm excited to open this baby up. This morning when I saw the air quality was a lot better and it was like nice and cool outside, I opened up every window, every
Nice.
door, every skylight. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
gotta let her breathe.
Right. Yeah, I love living in a place where you need a hoodie in the summer, just in the morning time though, when it's
Mhm.
like, ooh, it's a bit nippy out. It's been taking advantage of that where I drive to work with the windows down and one less jacket, and it's like I'm cold and I'd probably be more comfortable with the window up while I drive here, but I know I'm gonna be hot as hell today, so I'm just enjoying this
Totally.
little bit of cold feeling while I can.
I love that. I love that. I do the same thing in the shower. I try to go cold shower morning, cold shower evening
Nice.
because it's so freaking hot.
Yeah, right. That helps.
It's a shock to the system for sure. Well, I was thinking about things because as we've been planning for the fall, JP and I lately, there's just like a lot. There's like a lot on the plate.
Oh yeah.
And we just happened to have Mirai's return of the Bonsai Hostel. Like David Cutchin was here, Steve Varland was here, Sam Tan was here. Yeah, and classes just ended through 6 weeks of classes. Where it's just this place has just been alive.
Yeah, it's been popping.
It's felt great.
Right.
I think it's been really fun and really exciting.
Super cool to have the community kind of come check it out.
Yeah, a lot of
be around.
energy, coursing through the veins of Mirai, but the thing that I haven't heard a lot about is PBE, like the Pacific Bonsai Expo, because I'm actively thinking about trees, stands, like what wiring, handling unwiring trees, getting them rewired, getting them cleaned, so that they have a chance to put on a little foliar growth on any work that I do before the exhibition. Like that's been a focus in our classes, and I feel like I haven't heard a ton about it. Have you guys heard much about PB?
Not
Are we just am I out of the loop? Like am I missing something?
I don't know. I haven't heard tons either. Yeah, I've definitely had my finger off the pulse a little bit lately, but yeah, I haven't.
Are we hermits up here? Is that what's happened?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. I can't answer that one. But yeah, I personally haven't heard a ton of information about it. I'm super curious myself. Like,
yeah. Have you heard anything?
No, I haven't heard much. I just saw I think yesterday or day before they released some T-shirts. That was the latest news that I heard. And
submissions are open right now. Are submissions open?
Are they?
I'm not.
Holy cow! I have a
sure,
computer in front of me. Let me just take a look here.
I feel like
this cannot be the.
Yeah, we really gotta get some trees in the studio if submissions are open. The photo studio.
Yeah,
2027.
the latest
February
post
6th.
was the release of the T-shirts, and I know they're taking donations as usual.
Oh, they're taking donations right now. Yeah, it doesn't look like submissions.
We should be getting very close to submissions. What are we, 7 months out, I think? So
yeah, maybe it's not quite time. I think they said in the fall.
Mm.
Yeah, but the reason that I started thinking about it is I'm like, we've got some beautiful stands that Austin dropped off like earlier this year. Just like, hey, here's these stands. I had some time to make them, and they're just sitting there. But we're heading into exhibition season, and I don't know what Austin's schedule looks like, but I would imagine he's quite busy. So for people that are looking for stands, like there's some bangers on the Mirai website that people need to start thinking about. Their displays and having all the accoutrements for the show, because it's not a club show, it's a show on a higher level. So it's like, I'm trying to impress upon Mirai students, hey, the work for an exhibition next year gets done now. It doesn't get done right before the exhibition. Like we're gonna touch it, we're gonna shine the edges a little bit, but we should largely be finished this fall for the exhibition next spring. Like if it's in February, work should be done in November.
Yeah.
ideally, right?
Because I
That makes
think you were
sense.
talking a little bit in this past class about like the year approaching a show year, all the work that gets done, and I think you mentioned that typically a show tree will get touched anywhere between like 3 and 5 times total,
Yeah.
depending
Oh
on
yeah.
like what type of species it is, what it needs. But yeah, I found that really interesting. That's a good amount of touches.
Yeah, if you're gonna prepare a tree for that level, you're watching it, it's got to show you the right growth. You might
Mhm.
have 2 or 3 trees, depending on your collection, obviously, and like the quality of trees that you're bringing up. Like you might have one tree that could be ready and things have to go right. Or you might have 2 or 3 trees that could be ready and you're really investing a lot of energy in those few trees that year. Those are going to be a focal point. Like that's
Mhm.
the whole purpose of showing is like you're preparing for the ball, right? Like you're
Right.
building this tree up for its grand sort of presentation to the community.
Mhm.
And so you want to be fostering the very best and putting those touch points in where you're hitting each season, refining, honing, guiding, managing strength, managing foliar distribution, watching your wire, hopefully having the wire on so it patinas,
Mhm.
minimizing the amount of wire, allowing the tree to take on some natural tones, doing the work for the health. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like having the stand, working on the accent piece so that you've got your accent and your presentation kind of dialed in. All of that stuff happens.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking about Paul Sierra Juniper Forest and thinking about how or what are we going to do to display that thing? You know,
Yeah.
it's like a massive tree. I've got
That's a big one.
the slabs are going to be something to display it on. Is going to be pretty radical. It's going to have to be quite large. If
Mhm.
it's going to sit on a like formal traditional piece, are we going to do something innovative? Okay, well then we've got to start looking for the right rock or materiality and have
Mhm.
this stuff takes time. It
Oh
takes
yeah.
time to do it well, which I think we're all trying to push our limits, and you do have to challenge yourself. And of course, there's going to be a number of us that life happens, and it's like, this is all I could throw together. But like that should not be the generally accepted principle of displaying. We should be working if everybody is serious about doing bonsai at their highest level, what does it look like to actually put that time and planning in and see what you're capable of? You can really surprise yourself.
Right.
And if we're all putting in that effort, we can surprise each other as a community. We can lift each other up through that effort and be inspired by it. Like this is that moment. This
Yeah.
is what we're doing and why we do it.
Yeah,
You
exactly,
know?
right? Yeah, this is the thing we've been waiting for,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I think so. I think it's
Uh-huh.
one of them,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's a really motivating one because the community, Jonas and Eric and Andrew and the people that put it on have put the effort into making it consistent, just the same as Bill Valvanis did. But I think the standards in the Western United States aren't necessarily higher, but they're I think there have been more professionals over the course of time working in the Western United States, putting those expectations or participating in those exhibitions. And I think
Yeah.
the quality of the trees that at least I saw images of from the second Pacific Bonsai Expo would suggest that there's a significant amount of motivation for anybody contributing to be bringing the highest game.
Mhm.
Because I think the trees were really nice in the second one.
Yeah, there was a lot of good stuff in that
Yeah.
show.
And the first one was great. The first one was
Absolutely.
great.
Yeah.
But I think the second one, from what everybody said, was like level of trees was higher.
A
Yeah.
step up, and
Yeah.
then everybody's hoping that continues to
Yeah, but this
raise.
is what it looks like. It's okay,
Mhm.
let's handle this at an even higher level.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
let's start touching things. So I've been thinking about that and really wanting to impress that upon Mirai students because I think there's a lot of Mirai students that have hopeful entries that are kicking around and it's like, okay, well if we're going to get that to show ready,
Yeah, we're gonna work it.
we're going to have to be working hard. Let's get it done,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm
Yeah.
excited for PBE
Oh yeah,
for
I think
sure.
Brandon and I bring it up at least twice a week.
Yeah.
PB.
Yeah, I mean it's on the West Coast.
Mhm.
It seems like it's going to be one of the main kind of show that west of the Rockies moving forward, hopefully.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just kind of feels hopefully starting to feel more like home, kind of like our home show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And I think the national show is also happening next year, so that's a double whammy in a single year for big mega shows.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that there was talks about it being the last national. I'm not sure if that's true or not. But
I've heard so many things. I've heard it's
yeah.
the last. I've heard ABS is going to take it over. I've heard,
Mm.
and I have no idea. I haven't heard it from anybody that's actually working the current show or
Mhm.
planning on being in charge of the next one. So
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah, right.
I have no idea. It's commendable. Just like we talked about the 100th Kokufu is commendable that Japan could get to a 100th show, even though it wasn't over 100 years. Like, nevertheless, they organized that thing 100 times.
Yeah, right.
For Bill to have stuck with this to get 10 shows under his belt, I mean, that's huge. That's a big deal.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
it's
Kudos,
hard.
Bill.
It's
That's
hard.
Awesome.
It's hard for things to not die. He went through the national show, went through the pandemic.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they had to navigate some serious shit and continued pushing it forward. It's probably nobody else but Bill Valvanis could have weathered the storms that he's had to weather and keep that thing moving forward. Like, he is just raw determination incarnate in a human vessel. Like, that guy is game on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard a rumor that he like fell last year or something and hurt himself, and then I didn't know if he'd be at the 100th, and sure as heck, I saw him, moseying around the 100th Kokufu, and
Nice.
I was just like, wow.
You think Bill Valvanis would have missed the 100th Kokufu exhibition? He's there for like every single one. They would have had to have killed him, cremated his body, and already spread the ashes for him to not be present at the 100th Kokufu.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't know because I heard he took like a pretty hefty spill, and I was just like a little bit like, oh man, I hope he's all right.
Dude, when he came to the Artisans Cup, his doctors were like, if you fly, you could die. And he was like, all right, then I'll die. It was fucking nuts.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I mean, he
crazy.
is committed, full send, man.
Yeah.
Respect.
Trooper. Yep.
Respect. Yeah, well, I mean, because there's not a show year this year, it's been a hot minute. Obviously, in the rebuilding of Mirai, and like we've talked about kind of the garden build and how that's sort of signified a new chapter in Mirai. Certainly has for me. This year's been revolutionary.
Heck yeah.
It's been completely revolutionary. Just Mirai having that definitive, committed direction now, and I believe it. It's become almost organic and natural, and it's started to take care of itself and do itself now, which
Nice.
it has historically. My experience with that has been, oh, okay, that means we found the right vein here, right? Like the blood flow is strong in this direction.
Nice.
As far as like creative and garden and tree work at Mirai, so like that's really exciting. But usually when that momentum starts to amass and all of a sudden, David stops by and drops off some bald cypresses, and Steve brings out some trees, and Randy's had maybe one of the best collecting years that I've seen him have in over a decade. It's like whenever this synergy comes together in these moments, it's like an opportunity for expansive progress of some sort, right? And it was and we had the nursery find with the Lebanese cedars and the red pines. So like Mirai is bursting at the seams with all of this potential material, the Shantybithi boxwoods from last year. We've like been working through those, but largely those are in student hands now, which is amazing because we're seeing those evolve very quickly after just getting them here last fall. It's like insane. So I know the next 12 months is going to be heavy bonsai creation, heavy work. And I'm really looking forward to it. But when we get to this point and you have this like deluge of material events, we really haven't had that for several years, and therefore we've offered some tree auctions periodically, like once or twice in the past 2 years, but we got to do a tree sale.
Oh yeah.
Like there's no show happening this fall. We've got a lot of trees that need to move, so we're doing a covered wagon.
Oh yeah.
At the end of September or beginning of October, somewhere in there, and I think we announced it on the Mirai community email last Friday that the covered wagon is coming to get people's a beat on the pulse of where people need trees to go, because that kind of guides the path across the country.
Oh, nice.
But if we're going to do a wagon, we're going to do a tree sale because we need to make space. There's a lot of trees that are in outstanding condition this year and looking so beautiful. And it's just like we've taken on a couple collections where the people are, passing the torch and saying, hey, can you put our trees in quality people's hands? And so there's just a lot of trees around Mirai. And it's like a tree sale. We haven't done that in, I think it's been 3 years.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden, Covered Wagon, tree sale coming.
Nice.
Tree sale coming this summer, Covered Wagon coming early this fall. It's yeah, we're busy, but it's exciting because
Super
this is
awesome.
the ecosystem of Mirai that just sort of organically has to ebb and flow with the community and the way that society impacts art and culture is impacting art. And but anytime that you see the sort of the tide lift all the ships, it's like, oh, here we go, like that, like wee.
Yeah, time to set sail.
let's do it. Let's push onwards. And so I got really excited as I was making the community email last week, and I started jotting down all these things. I'm like, dude, if we don't tell people, I'm gonna forget, because there's just so many things moving right now. Like, people need to be prepping for PBE. Let's make it a banger. We've got stuff to help you with that. Check it out, because we're supporting the artisans. We got trees going across the country. We got a tree sale coming up, and Mirai is bursting at the seams with material and finished trees. Yeah, so it's like pretty exciting. Yeah, and just having like the hostel vibe back was
yeah, that's fun for sure.
Gave me some nostalgic vibes.
Yeah.
Waking up in the morning and making coffee for like 5 people.
Yeah.
Because I used to pick everybody up from the airport. I used to make coffee every morning and breakfast. I used to make lunch, and I used to make dinner.
Oh yeah, you would make them all too.
And then I would take them to the airport and send them on their way.
Yeah.
And that was kind of how it was this time. It's like Steve rolled in and we unloaded the truck, and he hung out, and David rolled in and we went and had dinner, and then we went collecting, and then we unloaded David and got him off. Then we took Steve to the airport, had a meal before we sent him off.
Nice.
And it was like, oh man. Yeah. Now my parents are here hanging out with Taft and me. It's great.
Nice.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
The heat, hopefully August doesn't just absolutely crush us with heat, though. It's early now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, we'll see. I think it won't be. It's like been an interesting one where I haven't had like heat dome events, but it's kind of been like just generally warmer than usual.
It's been warm. It's been really warm.
Yeah, we just got a lot of heat early on this year is what it seemed like.
Yeah, the heat early was a little unexpected and kind of tough.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping the people that are saying we won't hit 100 this year are right.
I would hope we do not hit 100. We don't need 100. Just the general trend has been so much hotter, even at cooler temperatures. I understand the UV index. I've talked about that a lot. There is like something else though. There's something else. Like, why does 85 degrees feel so hot this year?
Yeah.
It's weird. The trees feel it too. That's how I know it's real. The trees feel it too. I used to not pull the shade cloth out until 85. We can't not have the shade cloth out once we crossed high 70s here this year, specifically this year. And I think it's because it happened early and the trees got on the back foot. And it's like, okay, now that we already tapped, I think when their growth was soft and fleshy, they got stressed and pushed a little bit. And so it's like, okay, we're going to have to kind of pamper them through this period, because they've already kind of exhausted their, like, I can tolerate this for this amount of time, and we used up all of our battery in May and June.
Yeah, right.
It's like July and August has really been a pampering period.
Yeah, and I mean, like, too, it's so much harder on them at that point where they haven't fully hardened off.
It's crushing
and covered up, where it's like normally the heat wouldn't move in till now, and things are fully pushed
Mhm.
out and ready to handle that stuff. So it's like,
It's
yeah,
true.
definitely like, okay, we're gonna have to do some extra protection, but I think they've been appreciating it. They've all seemed to be doing quite well despite the heat and stuff with
Yeah.
our added protection.
The garden work this year has been the best part of it for me. Not the landscape. The landscape was awesome and all of
Yeah.
that was like really positive. Just the work we've done in the garden where instead of just watering and racing off, we're like watering for a solid 2 hours
Mm-hmm.
and in that weeding and moving and rotating and turning and watching and,
Mm-hmm.
doing all of the work. All
Yes,
of the
awesome.
work. Yeah, and we've been adjusting the garden as it's like adding another bench here, putting a little stone here. That's been
Right.
really nice too to have those watering sessions be so productive on like so many levels. It's really increased the depth of garden care this year
Right.
that I've really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's
That's
been
been
nice.
yeah. It's been
Mm-hmm.
the place I definitely want to be
Hell
is
yeah.
is out in the garden. But now because it's warmer, things have hardened off. Trees are slowing down their water use, even though it's warmer, because their growth is hardened, and they're sort of like at the
Mm-hmm.
end of I'm seeing the season more clearly happening physiologically for the trees this year than at any other year.
Oh,
Mm.
I'm
interesting.
seeing it so clear, like we saw all the roots grow in the energy return of post flush harden. Like we
Mm-hmm.
saw that. We literally saw those roots popping out of the moss in containers and rock
Mm-hmm.
plantings, and now it's gone.
Yeah,
Like
right.
that was the return payback of the post harden. Cuticle is formed on needles and leaves. Sugars and starches are coming back. Here's the vascular growth byproduct.
Mm.
And then there's a little lull here where those roots have hardened, but there's not a lot of new white, soft, fleshy root tips because we are in heat and the tree is like, I can't be putting out soft, fleshy foliar growth. I can't be putting out soft, fleshy root growth
Mm-hmm.
like I was at that favorable moment in time with that energy return. But I'm gonna hang out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna cool myself. I'm gonna move some resources. I'm gonna generate a little bit of sugar starch productivity, but I'm really getting ready to bang.
Yeah,
Once
right.
we get through this heat, I'm really getting ready to bang. And
Heck
and
yeah.
I'm anxious to see what the fall looks like.
Yeah, right. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Let's start really diving into the work and stuff as things start swelling and setting buds.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are diving into it now.
Yeah, absolutely
The
right.
the always the risk of diving into heavy work, whether it's heavy foliar reduction, heavy bending at
Mm-hmm.
this time is you have to weather the heat. We're still long days. I think the sun set at 8:30 last night.
Yeah.
Like
It's like,
it was big and bright in the smoky sky at 8:30. I was like, "Whoa."
yeah, right.
That's it's still dark till 9:15, 9:30 right now.
Yeah, right.
And we're
Mm-hmm.
in August. I always am amazed by that in the Pacific Northwest. It's just a shit ton of sun in the
Yeah.
summertime. I mean, it's a lot of daylight length, man.
Right. Yeah, they definitely just keep going.
I can't imagine what Alaska's like. I couldn't hang. And it's like I don't think I could do that.
You
It's too
think the
much.
light would be hard?
I think
The
it'd be
long
I think
days?
it'd be too much light in the summertime and not enough light in the wintertime. It's already like that now and I'm only in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, I did one summer up in Juneau, Alaska when I was a kid. And yeah, it would literally be 10, 15, 11. My brothers and I would be watching Nick at Night. And we're like, oh, shoot. If this show's on, that means it's like 11, but the sun's still up. I guess we
Yeah.
should go to bed, maybe.
That might be amazing, but I'm not into it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wasn't built that way.
Yeah, that sounds pretty tough.
I need a little bit more like middle of the road and less of the extreme polarity. Although I thrive in the polarities, I've found it hasn't been good for me. So I gotta moderate a little bit. So like daylight being the major trigger for plant and human physiology feels like the one that I'm gonna need to really pay attention to.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the wintertime is struggle city.
Yeah.
Struggle. I am pumping vitamin D right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm trying to get vitamin D levels to all-time high.
There you go. Stockpile.
Yeah, I really for real.
I believe
Stockpile.
it.
Stockpile
Mhm.
right now. This is
Heck
when
yeah.
this is the way that I weather the Pacific Northwest winters is right now.
Right. Yeah, I definitely feel like the summers are where it's at when it comes to these northern latitude areas.
Yeah.
Like I love the summers and I could use as much daylight as the sun's willing to give me, but yeah, the long nights I get pretty bored pretty quickly just because everything I want to do is outside.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, need a
think
new
I-
headlamp.
Yeah, I think fall is by far my favorite part of the year in the Pacific Northwest so far. I don't know why. Summer's been a little too warm for me. Spring's a little too wet still.
Mm-hmm.
Winter's winter, and fall has kind of been the sweet spot for me.
Fall is a good one up here.
You know what else happens in the fall is when you get those first fall rains, and then you can go collecting.
Heck yeah.
Like the
yeah.
mountains in the fall are so brilliant.
Yeah,
Oof.
right.
Oof, oof, oof.
Fresh air and all those colors on
The
everything.
colors, the briskness. It's freezing up there. It's
Mhm.
yeah. I am primed for a massive fall collecting season.
Yeah.
I am like I'm like bursting at the seams to get out. I mean, we already went out there. David and Steve and I talked about it on the previous podcast, but it was way too dry to collect anything. But I already got some really, really spectacular trees geolocated. So
Nice.
yeah, that's gonna be fantastic to go
Yeah.
have some fun and
Mm-hmm.
collect. Yeah. I really, anytime, like David was here and he was talking about like his bonsai future moving out of Florida to Kentucky, and Steve was talking about like his collecting ambitions, and both of those guys have like some profound trees here at Mirai. And Randy comes up and looks at his stuff, and the garden taking the direction that it's taken, and really the time we've put into it this year, and seeing the return on that investment, as far as like just the enjoyment that I'm getting out of the garden, and the enjoyment that these people that have, in a lot of ways, Mariah is a gallery of a lot of people's not life work, but body of work, certainly.
yeah.
I mean, Randy's collecting career is represented up here, but I would say the Backcountry Boys are starting to have a significant presence. Todd Schlafer's here, Bob Scheiman, Ned Lysett are definitely here.
All the ceramicists.
All the ceramic, yeah. So it's like really when those guys come here, I was thinking about this. I was thinking, what would that experience be like? Like, there's no when I go to, let's say, Isaiah's collection, and he has a lot of Mirai trees there. I do feel something interesting and unique, because that's the one collection that has the most Mirai trees in it outside of Mirai. And it's like there's a definite sense of like pride and a slight degree, not of ownership, like I have any ownership over that collection or those trees, but just like ownership of the body of work that's represented there. So I was thinking about that, and how I feel about that, and how they must feel kind of coming here and seeing all of these trees that were, raw trees that were collected, that are now in the bonsai vortex, evolving, developing in these pots, being styled, seeing my interpretation of trees that they no doubt had visions of and for and stuff. And it made me feel really good. It made me feel really good. Like, I think the garden looking good is also a respectful courtesy to all the people who have put in the hard work with their ceramics and the collected material and the grown material to have to see justice done to that stuff, and I haven't not thought about that, but I haven't thought about it in near the deep capacity that I thought about it while David and Steve and Sam were here recently. Yeah,
that was cool. I know Steve felt like a kid in a candy shop. He was like, "Oh my god, it's so amazing seeing what Ryan's able to pull out of these trees." I just didn't even imagine half this stuff.
Yeah. I want to. One of the major missions of Mirai that I think people maybe lose sight of. One of the major missions was supporting the ceramicists, the stand makers, the collectors, and the growers, supporting them so they can financially do what they do at a higher level. It's like, if they don't have a dependable patron purchasing the things that they're doing, they can't continue to do it. It was one of the great weaknesses of North American bonsai when I came back from Japan.
Yeah, right. Catch-22 for sure.
Everyone
wants to do it, but nobody wants to pay.
Sure. Yeah. And so being able to keep propelling, these people as far as Mirai can facilitate, the more that we can propel them forward. I think seeing the quality that collected material is being collected at, with the success rate that it's being collected at, is a testament to that.
Yeah,
I really do. I think it's how you build sustainability, is support of the people doing it in the right way. And I really find Randy and the Backcountry Boys and all the collectors that we've talked about, Zach and Bob when they were collecting. I know Bob is still collecting, and Todd is obviously just a monster. Like, but they're doing it. They're doing it really right. They're doing it right, and so it's nice to sort of embody all of that when we take on material here. It's really But I don't sit and like dwell in that headspace too much because it's almost a little bit too much pressure. But it's not, when they come, I can go there, and then it's like when they leave, it's like, okay, now we're back to, we need to do this our way. We need to do it and we're gonna do our very best and see what happens. The challenging thing with bonsai that I think a lot of people don't, you can logically know it, but nevertheless, when you get into the cycle of it, it seems like a lot of people lose sight of the fact that this is an unpredictable and imperfect process, right? Bad things are going to happen. Weather's going to happen. Insects and disease are going to happen. Like, unpredictable things are going to happen. Yeah. And that has continued to be something that, that this year, with the garden work taking on a larger amount of our attention and dedication, has really shown where that effort has paid off and where that effort is necessary to have gotten some trees through some tough times, and where even with that effort, it doesn't always work out.
Right.
It doesn't always work out for whatever reason, Like, man, you can try as hard as you want, and there's still going to be, no matter how hard you try, it still is out of your control to a degree.
Right.
And it's just like, okay. I guess that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's tough.
It is tough. It's brutal. You know what? It's brutal. It's really freaking brutal.
Well, bonsai as a lifestyle is it's a whole different animal.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I heard Addison ask somebody this question that I thought was kind of an interesting one, where he was saying, like, do you feel like there's much of an obvious difference or in quality of a tree that you hit every mark at the right time and get it to that show ready phase in that first 5 or 7 years, opposed to one that maybe had a hiccup at one point and didn't get to that point by year 10 or 15, opposed to 5 to 7? And how much of that, I mean, obviously that depends tree to tree, and if there's a major branch that died and whatnot, but I was like, I never really fully thought about that total arc and how different, if maybe nothing bad happens, you just didn't prune it for a year, and now you gotta hone it back in a little bit heavier and stuff, and how that might change that further down the road.
Depends on what you're trying to accomplish. It's right. Like, if you're trying to get to the flawless traditional model or the highly refined traditional model, those hiccups are going to be detrimental. If you're trying to get to the most character saturated, unique gesture, more hiccups the better.
Right.
As long as the tree doesn't die, more hiccups the better.
Yeah,
because it does put it into the unpredictable. It puts it into the unpredictable realm that originally creates the interest in Yamadori. It's why people like Yamadori, because it's unpredictable, erratic, and does not follow a pattern.
Yep.
And then we take it and we try to make it follow a perfect pattern or a domestic pattern. And it's like, if that's what you want, and that's totally fine. If that's what you want, then the less hiccups, the better. That's how you get that and execute that. And I think there's a significant amount of control with the discipline and the dedication to craft and pursuit of perfection in the shokunin mentality of Japanese bonsai and bonsai mastery, that where control is like a major theme of that execution. And when you go to North America or you go to Europe and you see Walter Paul or you see Dan Robinson and you see these outlying figures, and I've always kind of seen Mirai as like a hybrid between the two, that hopefully can like, I can drive to both polarities, and like, hopefully I can hit that 5-year cycle of perfection, and hopefully I can allow as many hiccups as possible to happen without losing the tree, and walk that line and see that far extent of unpredictability. But like, I do, again, like, find myself having more success in functioning in the middle, in a more moderated mixture or hybrid of the two approaches. I have learned to um I have learned to Randy just texted me. Got sort of redirected my attention for a minute.
Yeah, operate in the middle of those two kind of seems to be your sweet spot.
Yeah,
Of not,
oh, I've learned to embrace the
mm,
the hiccups.
uh-huh.
Learn to embrace the hiccups because usually a hiccup means you lose a part of the tree that you really wanted.
Right. Yep.
So then it's like, okay, well, what is the response going to be to that?
Yeah, exactly. It's not to burn pile. That's
No, no. Look at the tree that Corey and you wired.
yeah, right.
That's a pretty outstanding juniper that took a radically different. It used to be a semi-cascading tree, and now it's a informal upright.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't kick either one of them out of bed.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
right.
kick either one of them out of bed.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah, they're both cool. They're
Right.
both really cool, and I think they both
Mhm.
do the material justice.
Exactly.
But the
right.
material changed, right?
Yeah, it's wild how you can still work with what you got. It's just kind of funny, like you're saying, it's like using nature as your medium for an art form, and you're trying to replicate nature in miniature, and it's like that when nature happens, you're like, no, you're like, I guess that is what we're doing here.
Dude, this is what I was talking with Rom. Oh, there's another one in the
Yep.
past. Like Rom just brought just a wonderful, wonderful body of work of ceramics.
Yeah,
And I was
those
like,
things are cool.
yeah, I just brought them. If you like them, yeah, I can do
Right.
that. It's like, oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
super unique.
But we were talking, and he was asking me about a few trees, and I was like, yeah, man, no, I just, it's weird. I did all these projects in the wild, and I was like embedding myself in the environment, and I was trying to like really know Mother Nature. And I told him, I was like, I feel like when the Cyclops called down the wrath of Poseidon on Odysseus, and is like, I asked for this,
Yeah, right.
I asked for, I was like, I want to know you, Mother Nature, and sometimes she's not that nice.
Yeah, right.
And it's just like, damn. Now I understand so much about the junipers on the rock outcroppings of the high desert in the Rockies, and damn it, like that's what wipes them out. Got it,
Yeah,
right? Sun on
exactly.
the live vein, noted.
Yep, that's
Fuck.
why they're always got the deadwood on top of the rock. I guess.
Exactly. And all of those odd little observations and things that you learn through bonsai as this metaphor for nature, you then understand the natural environment so much better. It's worth it, but it's painful.
Yeah,
Mhm.
oh, it's
Painful.
wild. I've been thinking about that a lot too, because like that's one thing I've always loved about art is like every time I've tried a new medium, it's kind of taught me a different way of looking at the world.
Mhm.
Like as I started to paint and was like trying to mix colors, because like you can make every color with the three primary colors and be like, oh wow, you don't just grab the brown color to make bark on a tree. You gotta mix a few different things. It might
Mhm.
be a gray, which is really a shade of purple most grays are, and things like that. And I was like, okay, so there's much more color. And when I got into photography, it was like, okay, so you could really, if you look at something right, you don't even might not know what it is. It might just be a part of somebody's wall, but if you have the lines right in that frame, it's a pretty cool composition that
Mhm.
can make you think or feel a certain way. And so it's like kind of taught me that how to frame and think about the world that way. And then like with bonsai, it's kind of like just really keyed me into the natural cycle of the planet and stuff. And while that's been amazing, that's also been a little bit sad to watch it, because it's like now I know when trees are getting sunburnt in May and see all the vine maples
Mhm.
turn red. And now I've been watching all the big leaf maples lose their leaves at the tips of the branches as they've been yellowing and browning in the last month or two.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa. But also like catching in those early bud swells and stuff like that. And it's like, wow, like, I mean, everyone sees the flowers, but being able to notice, like, oh, the buds are now activating and it's this time of year opposed to that time.
Mhm.
Like, and not all just like the scary stuff, but the good stuff too. It's just keyed me into both what's happening with my trees and nature and trees in the whole world. And it's like, man, I love that.
Totally. Yeah, that's a really nice sentiment. I notice flowering trees flowering more times lately. That's the wisterias have flowered like 3 times at Mirai. It's like
Yeah,
it
right.
can't be good. Is that good? Is that okay? Are we okay here? Like,
Yeah,
is
did
there...
that magnolia down by the greenhouse throw a
Yes,
few random more
it did.
flowers too?
Did.
Again,
Yep.
the
And I was
Pyrrhus
like,
is flowering for like the 3rd time this year right now. I'm just like,
what?
what?
Yeah,
Yeah,
What's
right.
happening here? Are you gonna be okay flowering that much?
Yeah,
Like,
pretty trippy.
Yeah, as long as maybe if we just don't want to go to fruit or something.
I don't know. I
Don't-
don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think
Mhm.
everything is just it's wild. And being aware of it is a gift, and it's also a little bit of a curse because it's like, yeah, this is like a month earlier that the big leaf maples are losing their stuff than last year. This was happening at like the end of August, beginning of September. It's like the end of July, beginning of August, and all they're
Yeah.
like showing significant drought stress and heat stress.
Mhm.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So I guess
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, right. I remember my first winter or first summer in Seattle. I moved in the fall, and it was a pretty wet winter, but I moved in the fall after the heat dome,
Mm.
and so I didn't see any of the damage because all the trees had lost their leaves. But then that next year, all the big leaf maples had powdery mildew.
Mm-hmm.
And when I looked that up, it was, I guess that's common when trees have root recession and dieback, and it's like a fungal thing that normally affects the roots. And so, but then after that, the next couple years were much more mild comparatively, and like they had a little bit of powdery mildew the next year, but then 2 years after the heat dome, there was almost none, and all of the trees were like kind of healthy and had their feet back under them, it seemed. And so, seeing this year, I'm like, oh, I wonder if we'll see some more uprise in powdery mildew. It's just kind of a theory I've been curious to see how that goes next year.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But yeah, so one of those things where it's like, if I never got into bonsai, I'd probably still be looking at rocks and only thinking about that kind of stuff.
Sure, which is also interesting.
Yeah, quite.
Also fantastic.
It changes a lot slower, but
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I lost my train of thought when I was talking about the sort of like hitting every mark of like the traditional model on that like 5 to 7 year versus the hiccups that extend that, and Addison asking which is better. But I was thinking about it again, like I remembered what I was gonna say is like I'm happy for the hiccups because we can't, or we could, but we choose not to exercise the level of control on the garden and the trees that it would take to like so tightly bind all of these trees to like this ideal optimal schedule. We're talking about show trees taking a priority. Well, in order for all trees to follow that ideal timeline, you have to be on them like a show tree every year, and that's your bonsai practice. And that just sounds exhausting to me. It sounds exhausting, and frankly it was exhausting, like as an apprentice in Japan, like holding everything, like you're holding it so tight
Feels
to like
aggressive.
not like not let it fall out of that, like
right.
don't no yellow, there's a yellow needle, what's wrong with it's just it gets a little unenjoyable.
Right.
And there's certain people's personalities. If you're an engineer or something like that, I mean, I'm sure that's like just stroking the satisfactory zone of like, yes, just doing exactly as I planned. This is perfect. Let's just keep this right on schedule. It's like, but if that's not how you're made, then it's like, God, this feels really constipated and tight. Like, I want to have a little more fun here. That's where you see people's personalities, and their trees show how they're handling things, and how they generally like where their sweet spot is, and where people haven't found their sweet spot yet. You can see that in their trees too, where it's like, yeah, they're still finding their way, and it's you can see some character manifesting and some things happening there that are headed in the right direction. Oh, this person probably has some like acumen and talent. It'll be interesting to watch what they do. And other people, it's like, oh, they haven't really found that pathway yet, so we'll just keep pushing them along and see where that evolves. And I think that's a really fun part of being a teacher, but it's also a really fun part about being a bonsai professional, where you're critically looking at trees, and not critically as in criticizing, but critically thinking about What is that
Yeah.
tree telling me or showing me about that person or that place or that
Mm-hmm.
garden or that environment or that regional approach or that technique or that cycle of philosophy that their teachers teaching them and how they're digesting it and using it? It becomes an anthropological book, looking
Mm-hmm.
at people's trees, and it's awesome. It's really awesome. It's very special, I think.
Yeah. I love that about the art and how that doesn't separate. Like bonsai is still an art, and so that does just represent people. Like no matter how hard you try to replicate something, you're still gonna put some of your own DNA into it, whether you are or not. And
You
so
can't not. You just can't,
exactly,
because you're looking at something and your interpretation of that is different than the next person's, even if you're looking at the same thing.
exactly,
It's just totally different.
yeah. And so it's cool, like you said. Like I've been trying to do more and more of that, critically thinking of every tree I'm looking at
Yeah.
and how that represents not only that tree and where it's going and where it's been, but who created it and how their life might have shaped them into shaping that tree that way.
Yeah. Yeah,
Definitely
there's certain work that certain people do at certain times in their life that they'll never be able to do again, because the circumstances were such at that point in time in that moment that that's what was created, and it's never going to be duplicated.
Yeah,
I think that is super special too. Like, you see iterations of trees in people's hands where the conditions were right, whatever the condition, the horticultural conditions, the annual conditions, that person's personal life or their clarity of their artistic creative endeavor. Like, you just see those moments where it all comes together, and it's like, wow. Wow.
Right.
Yeah. And I think as a professional, I've always strived to be able to do that more often than not. It's like, what separates a Major League Baseball player from somebody else is that they can hit the ball more often than other people can in favorable places that are productive, and they can field the ball more often without error than other people in all of these different situations and positions. And so now they're a Major League Baseball player as opposed to a minor league player or a collegiate player or a high school player or a little league player. It's like, what separates a bonsai artist, professional, somebody who is pushing the level of this? They more often than not are going to take a tree and maximize its aesthetic or horticultural or show up, or developmental time. All of those things all make them a professional over other people. I think.
Interesting. Yeah.
I think
cool
so. It's
metaphor.
like, yeah, but I definitely recognize there are times where students do work on trees, and it's like, oh, I wouldn't have done that. I would not have done that. So that aesthetic, which I really like, would not have been accomplished. I wouldn't have handled the material like that. Those are really important moments. And there's important moments where I will do something on a tree and be like, I probably wasn't in the right space to do the work on that tree right now.
Right.
Like, it needed a different headspace to be its best self. I can let it grow. I can let it adjust, but I kind of fucked that one up.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is good and important to be able to
be able to
that.
reflect. And then there's moments where I'll touch a tree and I'll be like, well, that worked out.
Yeah, right.
That was the right. That was it. That was the right. And I try to make that more often than not.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah. To think that it is just a static, you can do bonsai or you can't do bonsai, and it's like, well, yeah, you're not. There may be some people that can do that. And again, I would like lean on the engineering mind as like one of these mindsets that's like, or a surgeon's mind. Also, I find this with my students that are surgeons. It's like, yes, they can execute tremendous detail and really critical technical execution consistently. Doesn't always have the most creative artistry or interpretation of the tree or uniqueness of shape and form or maximizing of that particular material's standalone characteristics or assets, but it's well done all the time.
Right.
Yeah. And then you see some people who are artists where it's like, wow, they flailed hard on those 3 trees, but that one tree, oh, nobody else could have done that to that tree. Nobody else could have seen that. Nobody could have pulled that out of it. Nobody could have executed that. And you just sit there and look at it and you're just like, damn, I appreciate the shit out of that.
Right.
And it's like, but most of their work, I'm okay. I don't, I don't, but that, man, when all of those conditions come together with that right person, that right tree, that right approach at that right time, that's when bonsai become really special. That's when you see iconic compositions created,
Heck yeah.
for
Yeah,
sure.
I've noticed that a lot with like older club members in clubs that have been in the game for 20 plus years. Something similar kind of has hit me like that, where when I see a lot of their trees, they don't do really a lot for me, but they'll have one or two that they've had, for almost just as long as the other ones, and they're just like, whoa, what? Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
where did that come
yeah,
from? Uh-huh.
and it might not even be one of their favorite trees.
Sure.
And
Right.
and I find that so interesting that, they're like, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, this is pretty cool, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's like epic. And they're like, oh, yeah, I didn't know that. I thought it would
Yeah, totally.
feel epic,
I'm
but
surprised you like that.
yeah,
That's more often than not the comment I get when I have that moment at people's collections. They're like, "Oh, I'm really surprised you like that one," and it's like, "What? Are we not? Are we not seeing the same?"
yeah,
But maybe that's the effortlessness, or maybe that's the lack of their
Mm,
like trying to hold it too tight, and it's
yeah,
like they
right.
let go a little bit, or it's not their the target of their affection, or there's
Mhm.
somehow there's the chemistry's right to make that thing happen. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. So personal.
Very,
But
yeah,
yeah.
very personal, very ephemeral. I think
Mhm.
like the and this is we I think we've talked about this recently, maybe the last time the three of us talked about um just understanding that there's like aesthetics out there in bonsai that don't necessarily create the highest monetary value or the greatest showability, but the aesthetic does create maybe the greatest emotional response
Mm.
or connection to like a memory where you just like see a tree and it's not going to be a show winner and it's not worth hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands or even thousands of dollars. It might be worth a couple $100, but because all of that is right, it's just like whew, and that in itself is yet another channel of bonsai. And
Yeah.
some people do that so well. Some
mm-hmm.
Mm.
people do that so well, where they just have simple, inexpensive, affordable trees that they've loved for a long period of time, and they've made the right cuts and they've had the right
Mhm.
sensation over the course of time. And you see it and you're like, gosh, I just want to appreciate that thing for what it has become is and what it has become. And I know it's not a lot of other people aren't going to appreciate that, but man, it means a lot to me, or it means a lot to me
Mhm.
right now. I really felt like I took on a collection this spring from a BSOP member, and she had just done the most marvelously magnificent job with her small little collection.
Mhm.
And I just look at those trees, and I'm like, man, every one of them is just so stinking charming and loved and delicate and well done.
Yeah.
They're not powerful, they're not blown out, they're not expensive. None of
Mhm.
them are expensive, like
Mhm.
like radically expensive, but all of them are super charming.
Yeah. I was thinking of that little ilex clump that you got from her
Totally. That's
when
exactly it, right?
yeah, that one's yeah, super simple, but something about it's just
Just
perfect.
magnificent.
Right.
Completely magnificent. Yeah,
Mhm.
I totally agree. The Ilex clump is one of those, yeah, or the Saguaro cypress
Yeah, those
is
things are also
just
cool.
yeah, the bigger of the two, it's
Yeah,
just
that
like that much character in
one.
that small of a tree,
Mhm.
very hard to find,
Yeah,
very hard
right.
to achieve.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's like the work just compounded over the years, right? And the love and the care and
In the relationship being favorable for both tree and person.
mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Like there was a love affair there, or there was an
Yeah.
understanding. They didn't argue a lot. Like they didn't get in
Mhm.
big fights.
Yeah.
They just got along somehow. Their personalities just meshed. Their energy was what
Yeah, right.
all of these
The
metaphors. Like
Yeah.
somehow it was the right chemistry.
exactly. Worked out well for him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. That aspect of bonsai, that depth, whatever that is, like some little pocket or pool or canyon in the otherwise greater body of water, it's interesting when you find
Yeah.
those places.
Like we were talking about that one artist in Japan. I can't remember the name who has those like literati-esque white pines and stuff. Or a lot of his
Yeah.
work
Mm-hmm.
that like he's got a few of those that are just like, wow, that is a really charming tree with a lot of soul somehow. And
Totally.
can't even really put my finger on what about that tree makes it so much different or better than these other ones, but it's clearly just got that. The
It's
soul
got the
of the tree
vibe.
is
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's always challenging to be honest with yourself and say, I probably couldn't have made that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you look at it and you're like, God, that's so interesting. And also a lot of that particular artist's work I'm not impressed by at all.
Mm-hmm.
But those ones, and it seems particular to the literati white pine that they execute specifically is like,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, I don't know what that is, but your spirit and soul, I don't know, maybe you were a white
Got it.
pine in your past life, or like this is part of your karma or dharma or whatever, you
Right.
know. I don't know. Something's
Yeah.
going on there that's just working real well.
Mm-hmm.
What always blows my mind are all of your collection of photos of all the before and afters. Like I see these trees and what they look like 10 or 15 years ago, and then I see multiple stages of their development, and I would have never imagined that the tree I see today that I like so much started like that or looked like
Mm-hmm.
that at these different stages. I'm constantly blown away when the people that have taken the time and have documented the process. It's really something special.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
continues to blow my mind time and time again, where I'm just like, wow, I didn't see that first move turning into this move, this look.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
When you prioritize, like when you prioritize, I think this is really where like I get off the traditional model bandwagon, because when you prioritize a creative gesture that represents an element or a landscape or a unique character of a certain tree, and when you kind of follow like that character or that style or that pattern that would create that, you start to use that as like a jumping off point for the theme of the tree, and you start mixing it
Mhm.
up and deviating. It's like, well, 5 to 8 years from now, any artificial move, as long as it was technically sound and aesthetically sound and horticulturally sound, right?
Mhm.
That's going to mature as if that was the tree's move and you never did that. And
Mm.
then that becomes something that is ultimately like, that tree would have done something unique and radical had we never touched it. So it's not like we're making it better or anything like that, but we
Mhm.
became the radical thing that touched it and did that thing, and then that naturalizes in the tree, and then that becomes something
Mhm.
that is so special that we're all like gushing over right now, you know?
Yeah, like a
But I think
key feature or something.
to
Yeah.
the point of a professional, it's like, can you put more of those creative moves in play that will manifest over time in more trees showing super interesting character? And this is really where I feel like it's great to see. There's like all of these discussions that constantly cyclically come back up in bonsai about the value of demonstrations and how that's not bonsai and blah 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, if all you can do is do an initial styling and a demonstration, that's unfortunate, because you learn so much from watching that tree evolve and grow, and that continues to inform the evolution of somebody who also chooses to share their skills through demonstration, which I personally
Mhm.
find to be incredibly freaking valuable and
Mhm.
absolutely authentic to what I would be doing in the workshop anyways.
Right.
You know, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, 2 hours isn't really okay. Well, maybe you should learn how to work faster then.
Right.
Maybe it's not the demonstration that's the problem. Maybe you're the problem. You know,
Right.
and maybe you shouldn't be demonstrating if you're put in such an uncomfortable, unnatural, and forcible position where you can't facilitate a good piece of work under those conditions. That's totally fine. It doesn't
Mhm.
mean that you have to shat all over demonstrations as not being bonsai.
Right.
Because bonsai is a creative endeavor, and a tree needs an initial styling, and that happens in a workshop, or it can happen on a stage. And if you're equipped to do it on stage, why wouldn't you share that creativity with everybody else? You're going to do something unique in that position with all of that energy and all of those people's feedback that's going to create a different piece of art than you would have otherwise. Isn't that valuable? Isn't that what we're talking about?
Yeah. Right.
You know, everybody being like, that's not bonsai. No, it actually is bonsai.
Yeah.
It's just a different form of bonsai than you're comfortable with. So stop applying your limitations to this thing that gives tremendous creative value and could give a completely different creative direction to a piece of material.
Right.
Like, shove it up your ass. You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
makes me so mad. It is bonsai.
Yeah, right.
It's just
It's like,
different than what you might feel comfortable doing. It doesn't
yeah,
make it invaluable or worthless for everybody else. Like,
yeah. I think
change your
there's
perspective.
a lot of that happening of just like my way or the highway, and it's like there's so many ways to
Yeah, it's
skin a
crazy.
cat.
It's
No
like,
matter.
yeah, and if you don't want to be a demonstrator, don't.
Yeah, right.
Don't. Doesn't mean you have to
Oh
talk
yeah.
bad about everybody who is and call it instant bonsai and completely,
Yeah.
strip down and demean what was created. It's like, that's nuts.
Yeah, right. It's
Just
just like,
because you can't do that, you want to say everybody that can is not doing bonsai the right way. That shit is so lame. That's the lamest thing. And I've seen a lot of abysmal demonstrations where it's like, damn, this is not your thing.
yeah,
Not your
right.
thing.
Maybe you should not be doing
Yeah,
that
not
in
your
2
thing.
hours.
Not your
Right?
thing. That's
think
okay. That's
Yeah.
okay too.
Indeed.
It's all
Yeah,
good.
talking about the bonsai police out there.
There's a lot of them, surprisingly.
Yeah, I can't believe that. And I think in general, when I look at the Mirai community, I do feel, and this could be inaccurate and I could be biased because I am fond of our community, but I do feel that the Mirai community has a broader willingness to accept a multitude of approaches as
Mhm.
opposed to like trying to be like, no,
Yeah.
this is the approach.
Right.
Because I don't think that what I'm sharing and what we're teaching is this is the approach.
Yeah, you've always had quite a breadth and the
Trying
ways
to.
it can work. And
That's my feeling of proficiency is, do you have breadth?
mm-hmm.
Because if you're just going to graft everything over and recreate the same tree every time, that's not breadth.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're just going to work with a few species and that's not breadth. It doesn't mean it's bad. Doesn't mean that I have judgment. If you do that work really well, that's awesome. I'm going to appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
I really
Feel free,
think
yeah.
like breadth and bonsai, and other people can have a different impression of expertise, and it's totally fine. We can agree to disagree, but I think breadth is having the largest vernacular, the greatest degree of knowledge and awareness of the natural environment, informing and inspiring the work that you do. And I think that's really the cornucopia of bonsai that's so fun. That's the
Absolutely.
fruits you get to play with. Why would you not?
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, I'm trying to take inspirations from as many places as I can.
Yeah,
too.
and
Like,
trying to do it all well and letting that
Yeah.
inform this and letting those things cross-pollinate and create something different or new or fun or interesting or predictable
yeah, right.
or reinforcing the predictability so that
Mhm.
you just do that really freaking well. That's awesome too.
Right.
You know?
Oh yeah. However you're doing it, that's cool. I just think, yeah, there's so many ways of doing it. To say that one way is better or the only way is just kind of wild to me because it's like,
wild. And it's
Yeah.
wild to just crap on other people too. I just think that's weird.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
go
No,
ahead.
I kind of geek out sometimes and go deep and think about the evolution of penjing and bonsai and just before time travel and cars and planes and transportation, and you think how these people in these certain areas that were doing these art forms, they were just using what was available right there in their backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Local.
And then as time evolved and certain trees were able to withstand, wars and, centuries or decades or whatever, some of them were traded or sold or handed off and moved to different parts of the country once transportation evolved a little bit. And I always find that so amazing. Like, we're living in this time where we can get a bald cypress from the other side of the country, and we can
Yeah.
get these species, and we have all this nursery material, and it's really
We can look at photos of trees in
Yeah.
Japan or look at photos of trees from
Exactly.
Indonesia and how their lines and pads are completely different. And
Yeah.
yet, and working with different things. And it's like, wow, that is a badass aesthetic. And it would not win a Kokafu, but that is clearly a different set of goals that they're going for.
Yeah.
And I dig that. I've got one little bush thing that I plan on pretty much only looking at Indonesian trees and styling with that intent of their like micro pads, long extending flowing lines.
They have some of the best lines in bonsai for
Oh,
sure.
it's so
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And
Their
so
branch
it's like-
lines, some of the best.
Yeah.
Scale and proportion in their branch pads also make the trees look a lot larger scale. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like
So-
breaking that stuff down and pulling in pieces of that and adding that to the repertoire. It's like,
Why wouldn't you?
why would you not? What are we
Yeah, for real.
talking about?
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Southeast
Talking
Asian
about-
bonsai and Indonesian bonsai is pretty wild because just in the past year or so that I've been here, I've been learning more about like how things grow and how plants, adapt to different environments. And Ryan was telling me about, how much more heat and how much more growth that these plants in Southeast Asia have than we do as far as
Mhm.
seasonality goes. And I mean, they can accomplish sometimes like
Oh,
things
2 to 3
two to
times.
3x
Yeah.
the speed as we can. And I'm
Just
looking at
outpacing some of the broadleaf trees. When you see Taiwanese broadleaf trees, it's like, well, that's awesome. Yeah.
you cut it and it grows. You cut it and it grows.
Yeah.
You cut it and it grows. You feed it and it grows. It's like, whoa. So like when you take, 10 years to make something cool here, it's like, oh, you could make that in like 3 or 4 years there.
right.
Yeah, there's still like you're totally correct, and I always marvel at it. There still is like there's like an intangible value to time, even though they're performing the technique and getting the plant response more frequently.
Mhm.
Still, like the girth and the bark and the dirt, the rain, the sun on the texture of the trunk, like those things you still, even if you can expedite the ramification in the branch, but like you still have those things where it's like, yeah, and you can still tell it's only been a bonsai for like a decade
Yeah,
as
right.
opposed to 5 decades
Yeah.
or 8 decades.
Yeah. And then you see those ones leafless, you still can't see through the canopy, and it's
Yeah.
like, wow.
That's
badass.
You know what changed my impression of this though? Seeing that white pine that was displayed in the first Kokufu, that was at the 100th Kokufu.
Oh yeah.
I'm just gonna say it. It did not look 100 Kokufus older to me. It looked the same.
Yeah.
And I was like, huh. It's amazing. Don't get me wrong. It's amazing
Yeah.
that for 100 Kokufus, nobody fucked up.
Yeah.
And that tree is still alive. Let's just be really clear. No human mess up killed that tree for that long. That's one of the shocking things about the horticulture of bonsai is nobody messed up. Nobody missed a watering on a hot day for 85 years or however many years it took to get to 100 Kokufus, right? But it didn't show 85 years of cultivation as far as like an evolution of the aesthetic. In fact, the aesthetic almost looked the same.
Yeah, right.
And
Yeah, that is interesting.
that
I
was
wonder if some
wild.
of that has to do with like there were a couple hiccups throughout that they might have been able to disguise or hide with the handling of the canopy or something over time, and so it might be like part of that discussion going back to it, where it's like, if they hit every single mark in that 90 years or whatever, then maybe it would look a little bit different. But yeah, I definitely was interested by that tree's progression. And
Progression
journey.
towards the same spot.
Yeah, and I guess the people listening can't see my air quotation marks. I mean, it's still a cool tree, and I would love to have it. But I remembered looking at some of the historical photos and like, interesting. I wonder. I like that one in the 70s a lot.
Yeah, the 70s was fresh. Huh? Yeah, there were a few moments in there where it started to move in this other direction, and it kind of came back to this original iteration. More branches, fuller, broader canopy. Trunk looks a little skinnier with all that foliar mass, but like pretty much the same.
Yeah. And do you think that some of those have to do more with like fad of what's in fashion and what people are trying to style trees?
Such a good question. I think it just because like pre-World War II bonsai in Japan, I don't know if I've shown you guys the pre-World War II magazine that I have. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. But like you look at the forms in there, just universally the forms of the bonsai, or you look at the really early kokufus, and there's like some pretty radical, free-form, avant-garde, a lot more rugged, natural kind of forms or representative forms of the native environment. There are also some very traditional forms in there as well. And so like that white pine seemed to have a very traditional form in the beginning, and it seemed to have moved to potentially move, in some more unpredictable directions, but ultimately seemed to have been controlled well enough to kind of hit that traditional mark. And I just think the traditional mark is like a teenage year of representation in a tree life. And so it, however many years later, still looks like a teenager with longer hair. It's like it never really gained those aspects of natural tree. Yes, it has bark. The bark isn't even that much barkier than it was in the original kokufu. When you look at the pictures, like the deadwood isn't more or less or anything. It's just kind of the same, and it's like,
Yeah.
wow, how did you do that?
Right. And then you compare it to that imperial pine that was there. That was a bit more of like a literati-esque tree, but it's kind of like that one feels like you could see it hanging off of a cliff in the Yellow Mountains, like where it kind of has like the one dropping branch, but then everything else is kind of like not dropping super steeply and creates 4 or 5 different pads that are all kind of on top of the trunk, and the trunk has this kind of like simple bow to it. And just with that one dropping branch and no wire on it at all, and it just kind of has this really natural feeling to it. And it's like, wow, I just find myself personally resonating with a lot of the Imperial collection whenever I do see photos of them, which to my understanding are not considered some of the highest quality trees in Japan. But it's like, for some reason, it's like, man, those ones seem to catch my interest and find myself looking at them longer and more often.
Interesting. Oh, I can't say that I've actually spent a tremendous amount of time looking at the Imperial collection.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't spent tons either, but when I do see them, like, I think it's like Aaron was saying that normally the first tree in the Kokufu books is the Imperial tree that was at it, and so I definitely intentionally check those out whenever I do open a book just to see them and kind of look at them, because Aaron was saying the same thing about how they're just not your typical things, because a lot of them haven't been restyled throughout the years as others might have been, to then be pushed back into whatever the trend was at that time. They kind of have been like, no, we're not gonna restyle that one because it's an imperial
An
one
Imperial
nearly
tree,
as much.
yeah.
And so it's interesting, they're kind of that much more of that time capsule of when it was made, which is kind of interesting to see.
Love that.
I
love that. Huh. Yeah, man. Wide chasm, deep pond.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Deep pond. Yeah, if you want to go really into it. I also think it's interesting when people try to suppress like new creative ways to explore. Like if it's not executed with a high level of technique or a really great concept, then it's going to fail regardless. But like when you see new ideas executed with a high level of technique and creativity, and they evolve over the course of time, it's like, why try to shoot down those ideas? This doesn't have to be one thing.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't have to be one thing. Why stop the continued exploration or progress just because that's not something that interests you doesn't mean it can't or shouldn't interest other people. It's like when people try to criticize Walter Paul or Dan Robinson or anybody else, it's like, why?
Yeah, right.
Why? Like what he's doing might be interesting. Like, why don't you just watch what it turns into, and then we can have a more evolved discussion. I think the same thing about grafting over all the junipers or pines or whatever. It's like, why? There's some really great Rocky Mountain juniper foliage. There's some really great Sierra or California, female California foliage, like the Naka.
Yeah.
Grafted over? Are you kidding me? The tree would be a fraction of its value. And why? Like, having to manage Rocky Mountain juniper foliage, knowing, learning, understanding, has tremendously informed how I handle Shimpaku. In such a more evolved way. I'm not trying to handle Shimpaku all the same. I'm trying to use Shimpaku for what it has the capacity to deliver, which is fairly diverse. When you think about Kishu and Itoigawa and Toyama and some of these other Fudo, some of these other varieties, they can all be something different based on the characteristics of that foliage and the growth habit and the way that you manage it. So learning how to manage junipers in general in all of these different plethoras of running versus mounting versus coarse versus fine versus thick versus thin versus has the ability to go juvenile, has the low propensity to go juvenile. It's like all of that, being able to do all that makes you better at each one of those things. Why then would we strip it down to just doing one thing the same over and over again? I think that's so weird. I just really do. And if you want to do it, I think that's also great. why shat on everything else? I just think that is really weird. And
Yeah.
those two things to me, seeing the ebb and flow of conversations in bonsai and this like cyclical nature of this like dogmatic reassertion of the bonsai practice, it's always just like, oh God, we're here again. This is what we're doing. Are you
Yeah.
fucking serious? We can't just get past this?
Yeah.
Like, this is exhausting. It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. I think it's. Oh, you go ahead.
Nah,
Brandon.
I find it incredible that we don't use the needle juniper here really, or we don't have people growing tosho.
Mm-hmm.
To me, when I was in Japan, the few times I don't know, I feel like it's a really special juniper, and
Yeah, and they're grafting all of them over in Japan.
yeah,
Oh wow.
and it's
All of them.
all of them. They just graft them over.
They just
but,
graft
like,
them over with Itoya. Yeah, just this like homogenizing. It's just like, this is what we're doing with everything, and it's like, whoa,
Yeah. Right.
wow.
Yeah,
Hope you guys like Itoigawa for eternity, because all of your juniper. And then are we going to get to a point someday where they're like, oh, we don't like Itoigawa anymore, so now we're grafting it all over with Rigida, and it's just like, what?
Yeah,
Did anybody stop and like think, like, is this really what we want to be doing? I don't know. I certainly look at it from my perspective with the variety that we have in North America, and I'm like, God, it doesn't seem like the way. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
here, let's just, beyond all other things, let's just talk practically. You have a pathogen that there is not, in the decreasing world of chemical availability, you have a pathogen that is not reconcilable by currently available chemicals, and you've grafted. I mean, this is monoculture on a grand scale. Or no, excuse me, not on a grand scale. This is monoculture on a micro scale. But this is this is like the danger of monoculture. Like, we're gonna graft all of our junipers over with the exact same variety of juniper, and this is going to work out well over the next 50 to 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
Monoculture has been proven to fail.
Yeah.
Not will it. It will.
Yeah.
Just
right.
win.
Right.
So that's what we're going to do. I like, the whole thing is like so weird to me.
Yeah.
It's just like odd. It's like, if we're a logical person, if we're intelligent, why would we do that? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Right. No. Yeah. It's an interesting one. I thought it was interesting too about like how I've gotten to see more and more junipers and like just realizing how different every one of them is. And it's like Sierra Deadwood looks completely different than California, which looks completely different than Rocky. And it's like, I feel like those foliage types, given that they're not completely unusable, are quite nice to have that as part of that tree's existence.
Part of the
and
context.
personality.
Yeah, I think it's a big part of the context. I think there's probably even some physiological byproduct of grafting over. Not saying it's going to like create a weaker tree and anything like that, but like, if that foliage with that photosynthetic productivity created that deadwood, and you put a different foliage on it, then naturally the deadwood that's going to be created and occurring after that is going to inherently be different. It might not be radically or noticeably different, but to think that Sierra juniper foliage would create the same deadwood as Itoigawa foliage, I think is I there, and I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong, and it might just be like, dude, junipers just need to photosynthesize. They don't give a crap. Deadwood's going to be the same. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Monoculture doesn't fail all the time. You're an idiot, Ryan. Yeah, maybe that. I don't think so, though. I don't think so.
Is needle juniper deadwood pretty hard?
Needle juniper deadwood is super hard, and it's very sharp, and its characteristics are completely different than scale foliage juniper. Like, you can look at a grafted needle juniper with Itoigawa, and you can tell that is the needle juniper
Instantly.
That is where I look at it, and I'm like, well, that's fucking stupid then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna put Shimpaku on California, and you're gonna put Shimpaku on Sierra, and you're gonna put Shimpaku on Rocky Mountain juniper, and you're gonna set all those right next to each other, and you're gonna be like, that's you just those are three. What are we doing here? That's weird, man. That's weird to me. I'm sorry, it's weird. And maybe other people don't have a problem with it, and I get it. Maybe I think a lot of people prefer that, so I think I'm sort of on my own here to a large degree in this thought.
Yeah.
But I think it's weird to even like think that you would not graft them all over? Just like, why wouldn't you graft them all over? It's like, wait, you just assume that's what you're supposed to, like, what?
Yeah, right.
We're not even, what if you don't want to? What if you
Yeah.
really like this fold? What if this has that mat? Like,
Mhm.
what if there's all of these things? I just think, yeah, I think
Yeah.
I'm just kicking the shit out of a dead horse here.
Yeah,
I
to
mean,
each
I
their
remember
own.
only being here a few months, and there's a needle juniper that came back to Mirai. It was a cascade. It was a smaller tree, and I've shown the picture to friends and other people, and they always ask me, they're like, "God, you really like that tree out of all those trees?" And I'm like, it's pretty special
It's a
tree.
special tree.
And then Ryan's client built this really nice wood stand for it that just paired with it
Yeah,
so
it's cool.
nicely.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, that whole thing was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the needle juniper, and I found a lot of the problems that they have with needle juniper in Japan were based on the way that they handled the foliage. Strength comes from the foliage in junipers, and that was never really a discussion that I ever heard anybody talk about in Japan. And they pinch the living shit out of needle juniper every spring when they grow, and then in the summer branches would randomly die off, and then they're like, they have a problem being repotted, and then branches randomly die off, so we're gonna graft them all over. And it's like, well, yeah, because when they had dumped all their energy before they'd regained it, you nuked all of their photosynthetic ability. Like, what do you expect to have happen? The roots are gonna be fucked, and so are the branches. Like, so let's just change things a little bit,
Yeah, right. Change your practice.
Yeah,
It's not working.
yeah,
Fix
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Mm.
I saw Mario post something about, pinching pines. Like, are we still pinching? Are we in the dark ages? Like, this gives you a better result. Like, bonsai is evolving on a technical level, and it's like, and I thought that was really interesting because it reminded me of the juniper conversation that I started having when I got back from Japan, and he's talking about that with Sylvestris now, and it's like, yeah, these things do have to evolve, and so does the aesthetic goal and the aesthetic outcome of the bonsai practice have the ability, need to evolve, doesn't need to abort tradition and all of that stuff, but it can do both parallel and should not really threaten everybody so badly.
Right. I think
Like,
of it a lot like tattooing, where it's like, there's so many different styles of it. There's the American traditional, Japanese traditional, tribal tattoos, fine line, black and gray. And it's like, they all go by the name tattooing, like Irazumi, I think, or something along those lines. However, you'd say that in Japanese is more like the traditional Japanese, and then like Tabori's when they use the bamboo thing. But like at this point, tattooing's become the colloquial term. Shops in Japan are still called Three Tides Tattoo Shop and stuff, and it's like bonsai's gotten to that point. We have all these different things, whether it's the natural style, the traditional Japanese style, the Dan Robinson's wild stuff, what the people in Indonesia are doing. Like, they're different groups, but what really drove that point home to me was when you were talking to Lindsay Farr, and he was mentioning when, like, interviewing Pinjing artists, and they're like, dude, just call it bonsai. Like, we're all friends here. It's the same thing. Like, Pinjing's a style of bonsai, but bonsai just become the colloquial term essentially, where, even people in China, if you say Pinjing, won't know what you're talking about. But if you say bonsai, they're like, oh, the little tree things. Yeah, I've heard of that. So it's like, that's kind of, at least in my mind, where we've gotten to. And so, like, the idea of trying to be like, well, you're not doing bonsai, then it's like, well, we are, because we're using a tree in a small container with fine soil, like, or coarse soil comparatively, but we're not going for the same traditional Japanese style. We're going for something else. And I just think that's kind of where we've gotten to as an art form. I mean, I'm not saying I can name all the different styles or that they even need to be named, but I think just this idea of like one way or you're not doing it is just kind of narrow. And I don't think that any of them are better. I think they're all cool and have their own merits and stuff. And
yeah.
But I gravitate towards ones that interest me more. But I mean, I totally understand the value of having an extremely dense semi-triangular canopy. But that's just what I find that I want to create is not that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and more power to you. Like, I don't know how we got on this subject, and I don't know why I've stayed on it so long. Clearly, I was really thinking about just like the positivity around Mirai, and I'm kind of bummed that I took us here, so I apologize. But I've just heard like little whispers around me, and I'm
Mhm.
like, wow, we're having this conversation again? Like, are you serious? This shit is lame.
Yeah,
Let's move on. Like,
yeah.
let's move on.
We're all doing something fun,
Yeah,
trying to
yeah. Can't
understand
we
that
just
we have
have
the same
can't
goal.
can't we just celebrate like hanging out with each other and like appreciating the breadth and depth of this magnificent art form and call it good? Like, can we just do that?
Yeah.
We need to, yeah.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see Pacific Bonsai Expo and
Oh yeah.
what diversity or lack thereof is shown there, and I'm super curious to every time I go to an exhibition, every time I go to Europe to the trophy. The trophy is very diverse in
Yeah.
Europe. I
Mhm.
mean, it is very diverse. It's still informed by imported trees, but their collected trees have been worked for long enough with a high enough level that they're doing different and new things and interesting things, and they hold up age-wise,
Nice.
maturity-wise, and artistically to the imported trees. So now you have this side by side,
That's
and then you've
cool.
got these cultural, components to it, and I think that's really fun to see side by side, even though some people are like, oh, we don't think about it, or it doesn't make a difference. It's like, dude, it's calling this out is not trying to like put bonsai in a box. It's so obvious. It's right there in front of you. Like, if you haven't been to the trophy, then don't talk about bonsai not carrying the aesthetical culture. If
Mhm.
you have not been there and you have not seen it firsthand, don't talk about it, because it is
Mhm.
so fucking obvious that, like, if you can't see it, then you're not looking hard enough.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, and so getting to see that, I think, is radical, especially next to like imported Japanese trees or trees that have been worked by, let's say, Japanese professionals that moved to Europe.
Mhm.
And like all of these different contexts are really fascinating to be looking at, and the I really am excited and hoping to see some degree of uniqueness and diversity at the expo, like
Yeah.
something that gives some breadth and
Yeah.
some depth and some flavor and
Mhm.
color and character. It's like Lauren's cosmic bonsai piece at the trophy is arguably the most important, and so many people are going to have so much to say about this, and it's all good. Let her rip. I'm happy to have the conversation. Might be the most important tree there
Mhm.
because it's so polarizing.
Mhm.
The technique, the execution, the artistry, undeniable.
Mhm.
If it were crusty and crappy and poorly done, there's no conversation to be had. It's not. It's done at the highest level. That's the
Mhm.
problem. That's everybody's problem, because
Mhm.
now you have to respect it. Now it can sit here with the same
Mhm.
application of technique and aesthetic, dedication to a high aesthetic, but it's just a different aesthetic, right?
Mhm.
So now you got to look at it. Now you're forced to sit here and reconcile how you feel. You're going to talk to everybody else. It's going to be controversial. Had the biggest crowd around it the entire time. And here's what else I would say: it made the other trees look better.
Mhm.
Its presence made the other trees look better,
Yeah.
because it's not such a
Interesting.
monoculture of singular things. But in Europe, I think the trophy genuinely is a beautiful exhibition because all of the different styles make all of the trees look better.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So when you go to a show that has some sort of homogenous thought or some sort of constrained boundary around it, and I think this is an aspect of the kokufu,
Mhm.
like there isn't a diversity that makes all of the trees look better or challenges that thought. There is a
Mm.
very high level, and all of those trees kind of fall inside of, and I think the 100th did actually offer some pretty wild
Mm.
extremities of aesthetic compared to other kokufus. So like I super appreciated that, but like I always felt like that's what made the Taikon 10 really interesting. There
Mhm.
weren't as many high quality trees, but there were a lot more aesthetics to take in.
Hmm.
Oh,
And that
interesting.
gave you a totally different experience. And the highest quality trees looked that much higher quality, not because there were shittier trees, but because there were different aesthetics.
Right.
Yeah, and I felt like that was really fun to be challenged
Mhm.
in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I never connected those dots of how the diversity in the room could really change your interpretation of the
Oof.
individuals.
Think about this, and then sorry,
Yeah.
think about this. You go to all three of us. We go to somebody's garden, right?
Mhm.
Um, you you could have a you could have a garden with a relatively low level of quality and one tree that stands above that level of quality,
Mm-hmm.
and it would have the same kind of sellability, desirability. It would be the one that you would want to walk away with if you were going there to purchase a piece of material.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, you could have a very low quality with a mediocre tree in it, and the mediocre tree is going to look fantastic, right?
Mm.
So like when you start to calibrate wherever you go, the hardest thing to keep in mind is what is the highest level of tree that is not represented here, and how do these trees stack up to that, right? Like
Mm.
that is really where calibration is a skill set, and seeing a lot of trees gives you that reference where you can, without that physical model present, be able to deduce the quality that you're taking in of that subset of trees in that space. Whether it's an exhibition, whether it's somebody's garden, whether it's a public collection,
Mm-hmm.
you can separate what you know to be the limitations of that collection from the greater bonsai sphere and be able to have all of that make sense without
Mm.
the highest level being present.
Yeah,
That's important.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Would you say the Spanish shows bring the same level of diversity and high level of execution as the trophy?
So first of all, I've never been to an Ubi event.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've never. They asked me to come one time. It didn't work out. Timing,
Okay.
cost, something. Like I'm not inexpensive, and so that's a deal breaker for a lot of engagements now. For me, it's like you charge too much, and it's like I'm sorry. It's what it takes to leave Mirai. Like it is what it is. I break even leaving Mirai, so that's what it costs. But but I would generally say that from the images, which could be completely misleading, not taking in the whole exhibition and also not seeing the trees that people are not commonly photographing and posting to social media, which would be all of the trees that would give you the diversity of the highest level that people are photographing and using to represent it, right? So there's like some natural bias built in here if you just sort of know human behavior, right?
Mm-hmm.
From those pictures that are posted representing Spanish bonsai and what I have seen of Spanish bonsai when I go to the trophy, which is dominant in the European sphere, I think Spanish bonsai are the most beautiful bonsai being presented in Europe right now. I think that their aesthetic has veered sort of back towards Japanese aesthetic and kind of like traditional ways. And I think there was a period of time where Spanish bonsai was maybe even moving, and I think European bonsai in general is maybe even moving in its slightly own direction.
Mm.
And it seems like some impressions and opinions may have shifted, and I think that's guided by a lot of the individuals that are leading the charge and their level of orientation. And if they're producing a higher quality tree, technically, aesthetically, horticulturally, people are going to rally around that, and that's going to become the dominant aesthetic. And I think that's why you see that. Personally, I think
Okay.
if I track what I was seeing at the first trophy in 2011 when I went to what I saw last year in 2025 when I went, I would say that a lot of the aesthetic and from different cultures and parts of Europe and the countries are being led by dominant personalities that are producing the higher level trees in those areas, and people following that process and that approach. And it makes total sense. If you're a hobbyist or an enthusiast, you're going to follow the person who's getting the most out of the trees. Yep. And then that aesthetic kind of becomes a movement of sorts. And I think the movement has gone back towards a Japanese style.
And you've gone to at least what, like a handful of trophies?
Yeah, six
Yeah.
trophies over 16 years.
Yeah, that's a pretty
Nice.
From 2011 to 2025, dispersed over that time frame. So I've
Yeah.
had a fairly good.
exposure.
Yeah, I've even gone to the trophy when I wasn't working the trophy,
Nice.
just to take in the trophy. So like
Nice.
yeah, and I think you see that in regions of the United States right now. I think you see dominant professionals or dominant personalities, and people might even say this, you might have seen this when Mirai came on the scene, or when Mirai started having students, or with the Artisans Cup, or the national shows that followed the Artisans Cup. There might have been this like aesthetic that was being put out there, and maybe people raged against it, maybe some people accepted it. But I think it's just a natural course. Like, you have influential figures, and people follow the influential figures or influential aesthetics or proven success,
Yep.
because the work has been done, and that's what's being taught, and that's what people are saying. Okay, I like what you do, and I want that same success.
Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and so I can totally appreciate that. But I would be lying if I said, I really wanted to see where that was going to go. I really wanted to see where that was going to go. You know?
Right. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, I'm going to the trophies at the top of my list, and then obviously want to see some Spanish stuff and then Italian stuff as well. But
Yeah, Italian stuff's wild, man. I feel like Italian stuff has always been really wild. Even if Italian bonsai wants to try and do it in a Japanese way, there's no chance. There's no chance, dude. The Italian is too strong, man.
they're in their own lane, huh?
Dude, the Italian gene is just way too dominant. It just is. It is such a potent characteristic of the bonsai that are made in Italy. It's like, dude, there is no tempering that. There is no tempering that. Marco Invernizzi is probably the one who came closest to tempering the Italian machismo. But like when you look at the creativity of Sandro's work, you look at what Salvatore's done over the course of time, it's like artistry mixed with like a lot of the different flavors of the culinary tradition of Italy. It just has a taste and a smell and a style that is delicious and unique, and you're not going to tame that.
You're not gonna forget it, huh? It's
No,
bold.
no, it's like some bold Italian eyebrows. I mean, it is fucking hairy, and you can see it. It is
awesome.
intense, dude. I look at Spanish bonsai. I feel like it's like the flamenco dance. It's like powerful and elegant all at the same time. It's like these postures with this like tremendous amount of timeless dedication. It's just like the right combination of the sexiest elements. That's Spanish bonsai, and I did want to see what that would become. I did want to see what that was becoming and would become if it hadn't like circled back. But I really think like the Alcobendas Museum had an impact. I think Luis was like going in an inherently Spanish direction, and still has a lot of bonsai that are inherently Spanish. But I think he started like, importing some of Mr. Kimura's work and like really forging a strong relationship with Japan. And all respect, there's no criticism here, but like I loved Luis's work when he was working with Spanish natives, and that was what it was, like I definitely appreciate like the Mediterranean climate and the aesthetic that gives plants that at times has been represented in Spanish bonsai really accurately and very beautifully and very authentically. Yeah.
Right.
And that's not to say it's all gone. It's just to say there is a moment now where what you're seeing publicly, it seems, of Spanish bonsai does have a little bit more of a Japanese tint to it. And again, it's beautifully done. There's nothing wrong with that. It just, I wanted to know where that was going to go.
Yeah.
Right.
I still dream of the day where somebody puts the effort in or figures out how to catalog all of the Spanish and Italian and just all the different countries' trees and photographs from all over the world, because I find it very difficult to try to
Dude, tracking all that shit down
track
now.
it all down. And it's like I'm so interested. I want to look at all of it, and I go deep down these holes online, and I hit these walls where it's just like it feels very limiting for me, and I could be just looking in all the wrong areas.
No.
but
If you could
gosh.
see Valerio Genotti's original images of the Buddha, the famous Sylvestris that Mara owns now, and you could see like some of his original work up in the northern Italian Alps, what that material was. He even had some Sabinas. He had a lot of Scots pine, and famous trees like that website's never coming back. Like I can't find it. It's gone. He's gone. And that stuff wasn't cataloged. And it's devastating because like that was in the early 2000s. That's the stuff that I was digesting. Like the original Burton style stuff when Lauren and Hervé were like sketching what is now cosmic bonsai way back in the day. That shit was chronic, man. It was awesome. And they were doing that. People didn't know this. They were doing that late 90s.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
They were doing late 90s, man.
I was just
Like this
thinking
isn't.
about that.
We're talking about 2026. Are you kidding me? Dude, this has been happening. I've been digesting this shit since I was 12 years old off the internet with a dial-up modem. I mean, Luis Boliño's Mugo pine that George Reinhardt styled at the IBA convention in the late 90s, that then went on to win a prize at the trophy. The very first trophy I went to in 2011, David Benavente's Cascading Silvestris and Luis Boliño's Mugo Pine next to each other, side by side in that exhibition, dueling for top prize. Fuck yeah, let's go. Come on, baby.
See,
That was bonsai, man. Let's go.
People need to be able to see this.
Oh.
So I long for the day
You can't get that back.
catalogs it or
Oh,
creates a library or something, man, because the bonsai nerds like me and Brock want to digest all of this and see it. So if you're into AI or you're
Oh,
like
dude.
Addison in any way, maybe
Nobody
you
talks
create
enough.
something like this.
Nobody talks enough about Ginkgo Awards and like some of the demonstrations at the Ginkgo Awards. Talk about Kevin Wilson, El Bicho, maybe the best Taxus. I don't know if it's still in Maro's collection or not, but Kevin Wilson's first iteration of El Bicho.
Dude, I've been
Nice.
trying
Come
to
on,
buy
Daddy.
these. I've been trying to buy these books and these catalogs of these exhibitions, and they don't even exist on eBay. Nobody sells them. They're just not available. Like none of them. I can't even find trophy books online for
Yeah,
sale.
sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's
there's never an
crazy.
economy to produce enough of them so that they're just like freely circulating. But also, it's like maybe that's because people value them and hang on to them. Like, dude, the Ginkgo Award books, man, I really the Ginkgo Awards, what Danny did for European bonsai, and very rapidly we're losing our finger on the pulse of history, because very rapidly, like, not enough credits given to Danny for where European bonsai is today. Like, I think that should be continuously acknowledged. You can't let it go. You can't let the next generation fail to understand how things got to where they are. It's like, that would be like saying, let's forget about John Naka and Yuji Yoshimura and Mas Imazumi. Like, those guys don't matter. No, they're always going to matter. They're
Right.
always going to matter, and like the accomplishments and the milestones, however small or big they are. It's like, if we ever forget Nick Lenz, or we ever forget any of these pioneer, Von Banting, or Guy Guidry's going to be in that, Gary Marshall's in that, like Dave DeGroot is in that, Colin Lewis is received personality, and on and on. And Suthin, what if do people remember Jim Grimmel's cedars that he was growing? And the wire that he was the first really annealed copper wire in North American bonsai. Like, it's just, I get super overwhelmed by the history that feels like it's being lost, and the significance of the lessons that we learned that make these conversations we keep coming back to with people that aren't aware of that history and the journey that this has been in as an art form in North America. It's like, hey, I'm sorry to say this, but you are being counterproductive and disrespectful for the journey that has gotten us to this point. Shame on you. Shame on you for not appreciating what so many people have put into this to give us the opportunity to have the freedom to create with this native material and all the lessons that were learned to get to this point. Shame on you. I get upset about that. It's like, you talk with David Easterbrook, homeboy is digging seedlings and planting them in forest soil in Montreal, and that dude is the most pivotal person in that part of the country for setting up a national collection that, or at least a regional collection at the Montreal Botanical Garden, that has had massive impact on North American bonsai culture. It's like, we take for granted that we know to use pumice lava and akadama. We're just like, yeah, that's just what you use. Okay, how did we get here? You all need to know that story. You all need to know that story. And if you know that story and all of these other stories of Nick Lenz collecting common juniper and using native blue rug out of the Badlands, where nobody else has ever gone to find a single bonsai ever, right? And what he did with those things to make Bonsai in the Wild, that book. Stop talking about Yamadori, man.
Right.
If you don't know that stuff, don't dive into that pond, dude. It's too deep.
Yeah.
Too deep for you.
Yeah, that book's pretty hard to get.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Like,
Right on.
that is what we owe this art form, I think, to do it justice. Anything less than that, everybody that wants to be like, oh, this is so fun. It totally is fun. Totally. You don't have to go this deep. Don't go this deep. You want to engage in conversations that are critical in this way, you better be able to go deep, baby. You better be able to go deep, because this is standing on the shoulders of giants.
No doubt.
Doesn't mean we got to follow in their footsteps, but we got to be respectful.
Absolutely.
Gotta be respectful.
Yeah, I think that kind of is like going back to what you were saying, how RMBS is doing the thing for Harold.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
pioneer, man.
Right.
Super pioneer.
Yeah, it's good to give them their flowers
I
while
got
people
to.
are around.
While
you
they're
know?
around, yeah. Why do we wait?
Yeah,
Why wait?
extra
No, no,
special
no.
that way.
Yeah, yeah. Let them take it in. Let them drink it in. Right?
Mhm.
Like, show our appreciation. That is cool. That's good stuff. Like,
Mhm.
did Gyozan pass away not being recognized? Like, did he know? I mean, yeah, I think he knew. I think he had to have known. But like, did Gyozan go away
Mhm.
not really knowing? Like the degree? My guess is he did. My guess is he did. My guess is he was like, I'm kind of tired, and people are like, no, don't go. Will you make me another pot? Like blood in the water, sharks swimming around him, and then he passed away. And it's like, hey, Gyozan, do you realize like you changed everything?
Yeah, right.
You changed everything.
Yeah.
Shoes on for sure died a pauper.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
Like
like those people deserve to know and be represented.
deserve to
around.
know.
Absolutely.
Deserve to know. Deserve to know.
Mhm.
Like why wait?
It seems like RMBS is slowly becoming like the runner up to BSOP these days. They're really kind of growing and doing quite a bit out there from what I hear.
RMBS is crushing. The Rocky Mountain region has always been. So when you think about it, the original Japanese American population that was interned in the internment camps, you had the entire Pacific coastline, right? The entire West Coast, and largely the western United States. But Colorado was one of the major locations for internment camps, and it was also a major location for a lot of Japanese Americans who ended up farming and preserving culture through their cultural art forms. It makes total sense that San Francisco, Los Angeles, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington have strong bonsai cultures. Japanese American and cross pollination with Japan culturally and in terms of this relationship has been strong. But Denver is this like oasis in the middle of the country that also has that, and that is really interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
John Naka, strong ties. Harry Harao. Like when I first met Harry Harao, he looked at me and he's like, "Oh, Colorado boy, you Colorado boy." Somebody had told him I was originally from Colorado. Dude, Harry took me in just because I was from Colorado, because that's where Harry started too.
Interesting.
That is some dope shit right there.
Right.
Like it's really so seeing the progression of that. It's almost like the maturation of bonsai, like seeing the progression of that now and where RMBS is, that those roots go deep. They go deeper than other bonsai cultures. They go deep. They go really deep.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting how the prior generations related to like, oh, you're from here, like I'm a vouch for you, I got your back. Like I feel like in today's world, maybe it's not true, but from my experience, you kind of relate to some people are like, oh, I'm from there too, and they're like, yeah, and so cool.
Yeah. So's everybody.
So's everybody.
Yeah.
I'm like,
who cares?
But like back in the day, people are like, oh yeah, that's where you're from. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, because it meant something, right? It's like, oh, that's a value system that I connect to. It's like when you see people that share a religion now, there's that like underlying understanding, and we don't have that as far as location because we've become so mobile. But that meant something. Like, oh, you're from Colorado. Oh, that means that you probably have this value system: farmer, rancher, ag, like blue collar, really good, solid, fundamental morals, ethics, and values. Okay, cool. I'm gonna trust you. Like, oh, we're going to Vietnam together. Oh, we're going to World War II together. Oh, we're going into the shit. I'm gonna trust the dude who I know came from a place that has similar things to me.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm guessing that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Quite.
Yeah. Harry Harao gave me a lot of love just because I was from Colorado. That might have been the moment that I was like the most happy I was from Colorado, because I was like, damn, Harry Harao thinks I'm all right. I was tight. I was in college. I didn't have a pot to piss in. I had no ground to stand on. And Harry Harao was like, Colorado boy. I was like, yes, thank you.
All right.
I will go to Jawbone with you. Yes. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Damn, I got feisty today, huh? Fired up.
It's a good conversation.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. I was looking forward to this one because I put down all those notes. I was like, Covered Wagon's coming up. Everybody reach out to us. Let us know if you need trees transported anywhere on the West Coast. If you can get them up to us, we will drive them across the country. We don't know the route yet. If you have things that need to be delivered or things to stop off, tell us, right? Email info@bonsai.com. Tree sales coming up end of August. We haven't done one in 3 years. There's bangers in there. Bangers across the board. We're going to have insane. There's collections, trees that I don't want to sell that I've been assigned to sell. There's going to be insane trees coming in the tree sale. Save your pennies. And just Mirai being a hub again. Fucking awesome. Freaking sweet. Summer, I hope to God the heat doesn't get too bad. We got to go water right now because we've been wrapping right in the middle of the day. But I was excited to talk about all this stuff and value you guys. Thanks for the conversation.
Yeah, this was a fun one. Thank you.
Thanks for letting me rant.
Oh, yeah.
Indeed. Thanks for listening, everybody. Hit us up.
Talk soon.
Hit us up. Until next time. See y'all.
Later.